Hi everyone, this is Amit from Talksonground. How are you? Hope you are all good. So this is a video about the budget 2024, which the Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman presented on July 23rd. This is her seventh budget. She became the Finance Minister in 2019 and has been presenting the budget since then.
Further, the issuance of Jan Samarth based Kisan.
So this is a series of budgets that are kind of showing a certain amount of continuity from the Modi government. This year in June, the Modi government was re-elected, albeit with a smaller majority. And there were a lot of speculations about what would the budget be like. Will it try and pander to some populism? Will it get derailed from the focus on infrastructure? Or will they double down on giving tax cuts to the middle class? What will happen to the students, a lot of unemployed people who are not able to find jobs. There have been protests by farmers, so there was a focus on what will the government do about the farmers. So I think the overall budget is interesting with a lot of different factors and factoids and focus areas. Last year or whatever, maybe a year before that, there was this whole plan put in place called the Viksit Bharat. So those nine themes that were defined in that budget have been continued. But for us to understand the details of this budget and what the budget making should focus on, ought to focus on, and what it can bring to the table, how can it balance growth with inflation and with unemployment, employment, and all the other factors. Let's listen to some experts. So first up, I have Professor Shri Prakash. He's a retired professor. He's a renowned professor of economics. He specialized in econometrics. A lot of viewers might know about him. So I will hand it over to him now. These are his views about the budget exercise and what it should be like, and uh, his thoughts are here.
Good afternoon. Today is a big day because the Finance Minister of India has presented her seventh consecutive annual budget on behalf of the NDA government. The budget should be looked at from the following angles or with reference to the following contexts. First, what is the geopolitical global scenario today? If we look at it, Russia and Israel are actively engaged in localized wars, but quite a few other countries are involved in these wars. The consequence is that several supply chains have been disrupted, and this disruption has been further accentuated by economic sanctions imposed by US against Russia and Iran. Now, these sanctions have created problems of their own on the one hand, but the sanctions have also offered business opportunities to some countries which have good relations with these countries. This is one context And this global scenario has greatly affected large number of countries. India has also been affected. This economic effect percolates from first international trade, and secondly the foreign investment in general and foreign direct investment in particular. The reason is that the resources diverted by the countries engaged in war directly or indirectly reduces the resources which might have been invested globally for the purpose of accelerating growth or the growth of the global economy, including the growth of Indian economy. This is one aspect which has to be kept in view when we analyze the present budget in details. Secondly, each annual budget is only a link in the long chain of budgets. Generally, political parties are elected for a period of 5 years. So each annual budget is the link in 5-year chain. But this budget of the NDA government constitutes much larger chain of annual budgets. Besides, let me emphasize that Pitambar Pant, then Director Perspective Planning Division of Planning Commission of India, prepared a 25 years perspective plan of development. The objective of that perspective plan was to double the per capita income of India by 1975. However, the projects and programs included in the 5-year plans of the Planning Commission itself overlooked this perspective plan, and the budgets presented by the central governments had nothing to do with this perspective plan. Consequently, the achieved rate of growth of per capita income could not be realized. It's not a surprise, in fact. Now, if we consider the current budget, we should look at what is the target, what is the objective of this government to be achieved by 2029. That is 5-year short-term link. The objective is to take the relative position of Indian economy from 5th largest economy in the world to the 3rd largest economy in the world. So we have to look at whether this budget prepares the roadmap for the realization of this objective. Secondly, this government has prepared a long-term perspective plan for the development of Indian economy, that by 2047 India is expected to become a developed country. That is, the transformation of the currently developing Indian economy into a highly developed economy. Maybe by that time, India may be among the leading economies of the world, first or second rank. If we are aiming to transform the Indian economy from fifth to third rank, then it will be natural to expect that by 2047 Indian economy should be the top economy of the world. This is the third aspect or third angle from which this budget has to be looked at, and both these aspects are directly and indirectly related to the perennial problems of the economy, current status and current problems of the economy, and as well as the transitory problems of the economy. Let me emphasize that unemployment, inflation, and growth are the three perennial economies of all the economies of the world. Let us see the realization of the status of full employment is only a myth. This has never materialized globally, and this is not likely to be realized either in the short, medium or long term in any country of the world. It's just a sort of parameter with which the current rate of employment and current rate of unemployment has to be compared. If we consider inflation, let us emphasize that there is a direct relationship between inflation and unemployment. If prices increase, profit will increase, investment will increase, and therefore unemployment will decline. This is the sort of the relationship which has been proposed by Phillips curve, and the validity of Phillips curve has been empirically validated across. So far as the problem of inflation is concerned, one should distinguish between food and non-food inflation in Indian economy. Food inflation has always dominated the Indian economy, and part of the reason of food inflation relates to, and I am quite emphatic in emphasizing this, that the procurement price or the price, minimum support price at which the food items or agricultural items are procured by the public sector agencies on behalf of the government constitute one important element of food inflation in Indian economy. Second part of this relates to the annual up and down in the prices relating to the expected output and the actual output that turns out to be realistic output of agriculture in Indian economy. It is interesting to note that the agricultural prices are the flex prices which are totally determined by the fluctuations of demand in the market, and the intermediate independent traders are the makers of the prices rather than the takers of the prices. So the logic requires that the control of the food inflation lies in the ensuring of the food security, not only the food items being present in the government stock, but also these stocks being distributed at regulated prices through the public distribution system as well as the private system. This is the only way, and my suggestion will be that localized, we should make a cluster of 10-12 villages together, which should become the collection center from the local farmers, and they should then try to sell this out or market this amount either to the bigger mandis or to the marketing cooperatives, in order to ensure that the proper benefits, proper returns are appropriated by the farmers, and the middleman is not able to make fortunes at the cost of the farmers or at the cost of the consumers, consuming public. These prices are defined as the flex prices. When the other prices, the services, the prices of the services are totally guided and determined by the rate of inflation in the economy, and associations of the service providers, they unilaterally increase the prices in accordance with the rate of inflation. So far as the prices of manufacture are concerned, they respond to the changes in the long-term cost of production. If the long-term cost of production increases, the prices are increased, or otherwise. However, our studies show that if the long-term cost of production decreases, most of the producers either do not reduce the prices, or even if they reduce the prices, they reduce by less than proportionate rate. If the long-term cost of production increases, they raise the prices, but the rate of increase in the prices is more than proportionate to the increase in the cost of production. So we have to understand this logic. Another thing is that if the income increases, prices are bound to increase. Why? When investment takes place, first the income is generated for establishment of new factories, acquisition of land, construction of buildings, hiring of labor, installation of machinery and equipment, and production involves long lead times. So first the income is generated, output comes later. Therefore, with the increase in income, the prices always tend to rise. This economic logic of the price movements and the movements in the income have to be understood properly before people talk about inflation, unemployment, etc., etc. Another important aspect, two aspects I will like to speak. The debt, public debt, and fiscal deficit. If the money raised by public debt and fiscal deficit, greater the public debt, smaller shall be the need of fiscal deficit, or vice versa. But public debt should also not go beyond the means of repayment of the same. Otherwise, governments would be bankrupt. So another thing is that traditionally a lot of people have associated the inflation or the rise in prices with the fiscal deficit. But money raised through public debt, money created through fiscal deficit are inflationary or not inflationary depends on how the money is spent. If money is spent productively, the fiscal deficit would have not much of an effect on the prices. So these are the sort of the aspects, and last point that I will like to make in this context, we will go for quantitative explanation of these aspects, is when the finance minister is talking about of the creation of jobs, what are the assumptions about the labor output ratio and labor capital ratios? We will work that out and show whether the expected number of job opportunities stated by the finance minister are tenable or untenable. Another aspect is statistical. Greater the denominator, given the value of the numerator, smaller shall be the rate of growth. So if the last year's base growth rate is the base of the future growth rate of 8.2%, we will like to look at what is the capital output ratio, what is the labor output ratio, and how these ratios are likely to pull up whether or not the 7% expected rate of growth of GDP is likely to materialize or not.
So now that we've heard from uh, Professor Prakash about what should the budgetary exercise should be like, and what are the focus areas, how can we look at whether the budget is generating growth or employment? Is it controlling inflation or is it inflationary? Now let's turn to another expert who's going to give us his views about the budget itself in terms of whether he thinks that the budget is future focused and what are his thoughts. So let's go ahead and listen to Dr. Amit Sharma. He's also a PhD in economics, and let's hear what he has to say.
So, friends, I think 2024 budget by Modi 3.0 is quite a classical budget in my view. And I am of the view that this budget focuses attention on job creation and enabling India's competitiveness. So, particularly in manufacturing and services, by promoting urban industry synergies and providing for quality infrastructure, especially as we see that the government has made an allocation of almost 11 lakh thousand crore for infrastructure, which is about 3.5% of the GDP. And that's a substantial amount earmarked for this thing. This reflects continued focus on improving India's competitiveness and in the manufacturing sector particularly. Another important aspect of this thing is the focus on economic and transport planning and to enable cities to, continue as engines of economic growth and meet the growth aspirations of the country. They are proposed nearly, I think, 100 industrial parks in close to 100 cities. By leveraging town planning and etc. Then there is a focus also on funding support for the critical industrial cities, Amritsar to, Calcutta, Amritsar to Calcutta industrial corridor, then Vizag to Chennai industrial corridor. And these are pretty important announcements in the budget. The challenge of industrial housing in peri-urban areas is also being solved. So I'm pretty happy with this announcement by the government. The credit guarantee scheme is another important enabler, and this would help in improving the e-commerce export competitiveness for media MSMEs. This will also enable demand creation and boost India's aspiration of achieving $1 trillion exports by 2040, was it? Yeah, by 2030. By 2030. So then there is further impetus being given to religious tourism. So in a nutshell, we can say that 1 crore, 1 lakh crore innovation fund is an important highlight of the budget. Support for MSMEs and startups is yet another highlight of the budget. Tax benefits for startups and family businesses is to encourage and create an enabling environment for startups and new businesses. A simplified tax structure, tax exemptions for private equity and sovereignty funds. So all of this would create an enabling environment, and I am quite sure that this budget presents a very balanced approach and also presents a continuity and will help in fostering a robust environment for entrepreneurship and economic development of the country. So I think this budget has also will help in upskilling and creating a skilled workforce, which is what is the need of the hour. Another important focus of this budget is on enhancing India's manufacturing competitiveness in semiconductor and electronics, and that is a very important step in my view, because with the right ecosystem, policy continuity, and interventions across the board, I think India would be able to improve the value chain, and India can be on track to achieve its US dollar 500 billion production target by 2030. And that is important to keep abreast with our competitors.
So as you heard, he's very upbeat. Dr. Amit is very upbeat about the budget. Now, to wrap this up, I just want to quickly give my preliminary views. We will come back with a more detailed discussion and analysis about the budget in terms of numbers and strategies and so on. But my view is that it was a balanced effort, given that it's like a 7 month, 8 month budget. Not that much could have been done. Whatever amounts that I allocated, it's very difficult to spend them all. Especially, if you look at the student stipends, a lot of sessions get over or rather start again in July. So some people who are not continuing their studies, they'll look for work. For the government to roll this out quickly is a challenge. So given the constraints, given the kind of partnerships the government has now, the pressures to allocate money into certain states. Given all of that, I think it's a pretty smart effort and continues the trend. The fiscal deficit has been controlled, and that should surely bring some cheer both to the private industry and the foreign industry. And definitely the money allocated for employment schemes is welcome, and doubling down on protecting the local industry with some custom duty adjustments is also welcome with respect to the PLI scheme. So all in all, I think it's a decent budget. I think the bigger opportunity will come in February 2025 when the government presents its first full budget, this government. So we look forward to that as well. So this is all for today. Thank you for watching. Good day and bye-bye.